In the West, we are a very competitive society. And out of our competitiveness comes a lot of comparing ourselves to other people, really trying to see where we are falling. And out of the comparing comes a lot of unpleasant mind states. And while comparing in and of itself, there's nothing particularly wrong with comparing. And if we're comparing because we're looking at someone who's doing something similar to what we want to be doing, and we're doing it in a way that's informing us in how we can change our behavior and how we can have more benefit by comparing ourselves to them. So in and of itself, if we're comparing for that reason, comparing can be pretty healthy for us. But that's not how we're comparing most of the time. Most of the time, how we're comparing is mostly unconsciously. So we're kind of walking along and maybe a friend calls us. I mean, everything's fine. Everything's fine in our world. We get a call and a friend just got a promotion and they got a big pay raise. And while we're happy for them on the phone, we're genuinely happy. When we hang up, maybe we have that little bit of disappointment feeling inside, like, oh, why didn't that happen to me? And just that little bit of kind of gnawing of feeling a little bit like somehow the scales are tipping against us. Or maybe we're walking along a beach and everything's fine. We're totally content. Everything's okay. And then we see someone, we see if you're a woman, you see another woman that's got this perfect figure. If you're a man, you see another man that's got this perfect figure. And then all of a sudden in that moment, there's that little, I don't quite look like that. And that feeling of just not quite feeling as good about yourself anymore. And so in this kind of comparing, which is the comparing that we do most of the time, it really leads to a lot of unwholesome mind states. It leads to jealousy and envy, and it leads to a feeling of unworthiness, of scarcity. Again, nothing on our outer conditions has changed. Nothing. But in our mind, all of a sudden there's a scoreboard that everyone else is plus 100 and we're minus 100. And then once we get there, we get stuck for a long time. If we can spend 10, 20 minutes there, 30 minutes, we can spend an hour suffering because someone has some good conditions. And we feel that in some way that's coming out of our pocket. And Sharon Salzberg has a good analogy for this, talking about this topic about comparing. In Asia, they do this really awful practice of catching monkeys, where they put tar down. And so the monkey comes along and he puts one foot in. And instead of at that point trying to pull the foot out or reach for a tree limb or something to get free, puts the next foot in, and then puts the next hand in, and the next hand, and then eventually their head, all of this trying to pull themselves out. But they're stuck. At that point, they're totally stuck. And this is how it is for us. When we're not being mindful, when we're allowing our mind to wander, comparing is one of the 5 ways in which we think most habitually when our minds are wandering. So if our minds are wandering, judging someone, chasing the future, thinking about the past, our eyes fall on something, the comparing starts to happen, first leg on the tar, that disappointment, a little punch in the gut, oh, I don't have that. Our next leg's in the tar, the jealousy, next our hand, the envy, the next hand. And then the feelings of unworthiness, the feelings like I'm not enough anymore. Something's wrong in my life. What am I doing wrong? Right? Our head's in. And we're stuck. And so fortunately, we have a practice that can help us get unstuck and help us experience more healthy, more positive, wholesome mind states when other people are experiencing good conditions. So this is a Buddhist practice, a Buddhist teaching called Sympathetic Joy. In Pali or Sanskrit, it's called mudita. And it's one of the 4 Brahma Viharas. Brahma Viharas means heavenly abodes, like the heavenly mind states. So the other 3 are loving kindness. Some of you may be familiar with compassion and equanimity. And what sympathetic joy means, the translation, is really, being glad for others, being happy for others. So it's the practice, it's the teaching, and it's the practice of being genuinely happy for other people. That when we hang up the phone, that we still carry that feeling of goodness and excitement for our friend that got something good, or an acquaintance that got something good, or someone we don't even know. And we can just see that they have some good conditions and that we can feel like, wow, good for them. That's awesome. Because we know what that good feeling's like when we experience good conditions. And we want to spread it and we want to share in that joy. And we do it with wisdom, understanding we're not losing anything. Actually, all we're losing is the suffering of comparing, the jealousy, the envy, the sense of separation and disconnection. And what we're winning is that sense of connection with other beings, which is what we love. And that sense of connection with our true self, what we talked about last week. Because this is coming from the heart. There's no ego here. We're sharing in the joy of others. And it's a feeling of abundance, of wholesomeness, of being well, of feeling complete. It's really so much of what we want. And there are so many more opportunities to experience this. We're not just dependent upon us getting the pay raise or winning the lottery or getting the praise. It's when it's happening to anyone that we can share in that joy and those good conditions and feel more uplifted and feel more connected. So it really increases our opportunities to be able to feel more joy. And yet, the Buddha did say, of the 4 Brahma Viharas, sympathetic joy is the most difficult one. And I would agree. It is the most challenging for us. We have this scarcity mindset. We have this zero-sum game mindset, meaning the pie is limited. And because we also live in this very egoic, very competitive world, that is the mindset. And this is what everyone else is thinking too. And so it's hard to get out of that mindset. It's hard to not get pulled in to the comparing as though in some way it's benefiting us. And so we do need to bring more awareness to it just through a talk like this, and we're going to meditate to also bring more of that experience into it. So in our meditation, we're going to do some visualization of imagining different people experiencing good conditions and really sharing that joy, really trying to give you that sense, that feeling of abundance and openness and connection of sympathetic joy, so that the next time, and we all have, you can wake up tomorrow morning and someone's experiencing something good. You can just look around at someone and just think, wow, good for them. They look happy. I'm so happy for them. And really just keep sharing in that joy and keep feeling that uplifting feeling so that you don't get lost in the comparing mind, because that is painful. That is awful. Nobody enjoys that. And it doesn't do anything to benefit anyone. And we would be horrified if people really knew how it made us feel disappointed through their good news. And we're all doing it. We're all doing it. So let's be honest about that too. And when you do get lost in that comparing mind, really look and see the qualities that are arising, the unwholesome mind states. And think, wow, it just started with that comparing. And you have the antidote. The antidote is sympathetic joy. And it feels so good. when you approach everyone's good fortune with that open heart of genuinely being happy. It's an amazing feeling. It's an amazing practice, and we all have to work at it. So, so practice sympathetic joy. Spread the love, spread the cheer. See how good you feel from it. So, thank you all. Namaste.